All right, what's going on, guys? Back with another Ironmaster review. I got the Quick Lock Adjustable Kettlebell. This one is the starting weight of 22.5 pounds. They actually make one with a lower starting weight. If you want that preference, that's 12.5 pounds. I just recently did a thorough breakdown of their original quick change adjustable dumbbells. Purchased these up to 135 pounds with all the bells and whistles and add-on kits. If you guys are interested in that, I'll link that video down below to get more context here. But just like what I said in that video, I was a little apprehensive kind of jumping into this ecosystem of Ironmaster products, but since I kind of made this jump, thought I'd kind of go ahead and start going through some other products in their product line, one of which being their adjustable kettlebell. Now, adjustable kettlebells and kettlebells in general have been around for some time, of course. I have, and actually probably in good timing, I actually was gonna pick up some more kettlebells. This is an old classic Lifeline kettlebell, and they used to make them in the USA back in Wisconsin. I think this was like 15 years ago I had this. Was gonna add some more kettlebells back to my routine here. Had one in shipping that was a USA made one that actually got damaged, so I got refunded for that, which actually worked out great because I kind of regretted it after making the purchase for this, because I didn't really need that. So I think I bought like a 50 or maybe 50 to 70, something like that, something heavier. But what this does a great job, obviously, is it kind of takes away for the need for other kettlebells in various increments. If you get the separate add-on kits, and I'll show you guys that here in this video, you can take this 22.5 kettlebell and bring it up to 80 pounds, and actually even further beyond that, which I might cover that in a future video, but basically you can go up to 80 pounds on this. And even though I've seen this in other plate load adjustable kettlebells, I honestly thought they probably wouldn't feel as good as, say, original basic kettlebell for just things like racking and doing various exercises like snatching, especially with this type of a square design. I really had no idea. This thing had such great reviews, and again, since I already kind of invested so far into it, that was the rationale I went ahead and picked this up. But again, I really wasn't sure what I was gonna get into. Gonna give you guys my honest review. As always, did pay money for this. Interested in supporting me in the channel, picking up anything from Ironmaster, I'll put an affiliate link down below. Greatly help support me in the channel if you pick up anything from Ironmaster, either now or in the future. All right, first things first, getting into unboxing and first impressions. When this thing came to my house, as with everything Ironmaster so far, it comes about maybe less than a week since I placed the order date. Actually, these were on back order. I forgot to mention that. These things, I guess, sell out pretty quickly. There should be a fresh stock in at the time of this recording. Pretty surprised on the size. I don't know why, based on the pictures, I thought this thing would actually be smaller, and maybe just going off the dimensions of a traditional kettlebell, I kind of thought the handle would kind of be smaller. You're gonna notice, this can be a pro and a con, later I'll address this, the handle is bigger. I actually prefer it. You guys will see me kind of talking about that throughout the video for a number of reasons, but it actually is a wider than standard handle compared to a normal kettlebell. So basically much bigger than I thought it was. I already said you can get the lower starting weight, and some people just prefer that on maybe the starting increments and what they want to get up to. I wanted to go a little more heavier and kind of play with those kind of numbers. So that's why I went with the heavier option. Definitely a beefier, solid design, really impressive powder coat. That kettlebell that I mentioned that was damaged in shipping, I actually went out of my way to really search for a USA made kettlebell. I don't know why, more than ever, I'm really searching for USA made plates when possible. Of course, these are not USA made. They are made in Taiwan. And my buddy Skyler, who lives in Taiwan, he shot me a comment in the last video, and I think I've heard about this, but he went on to go on to say, and I think Ironmaster told me the same as much too, that Taiwan is known for their manufacturing and their attention to detail and just quality control. So be that as it may, I think that's also something maybe to be a possible winner in their contender as far as how they're built. It seems to be in the review section that many things from Ironmaster, people talk about the build quality, how they're made, and most importantly, how long they last. Just like everything else Ironmaster, these things have a lifetime warranty. Okay, now I'm just gonna show you guys again basically how it works and the add-on increments that you're looking with if you have the standard kit, and then also if you get the add-on kit on top of it with the extended screws. Works pretty much the same way as the basic Ironmaster quick lock system and how you kind of twist and set up with little notches on the screws. As I already said before, it starts off at 22.5 pounds. When you guys add the locking screw, it goes up to 25 pounds at the starting weight. And I'll show this to you guys a few times in the video. You'll see me kind of holding it sideways when I first started messing with it. But basically, as long as it's somewhat horizontal and even, it's not that hard or cumbersome to add weights. If we want to go ahead and add 10 pounds to this to make it 35 pounds total with the locking screw, I keep this kind of just even like that. There's a little arrow pointing up, gives me that reference point. Kind of shimmy it in there and then give it a little turn. And you can see now we're locked in at 35 pounds. Now the kettlebell with the traditional locking screw can hold up to 32.5 pounds, which you guys can also buy separately with the kit. So I have 30 pounds here and then a 2.5 pounds right there. We'll add these on here in a second, but once you kind of add the total weight onto here, you're looking at a total weight of 57.5 pounds. I don't think it makes a difference. The 2.5's on at the end. It's just easier to kind of do some drop set weight. I'm just gonna show you guys adding all the weight here. I'm giving myself a little bit of a lean to kind of control it from falling. Again, not totally perfect system, but there we go. So that's pretty much even. Keeping this nice and centered. Now this is where it can get kind of iffy. So I'm just really pressing in tightly, and then just so I don't do a double loop around. And you can see now I got it locked in. This is at 57.2 pounds, just like that. Now I'm gonna show you guys if you add the 22.5 pounds, which then you would need the extended screw here, you're gonna be at 80 pounds. Again, doesn't matter if this goes on first or last, it just makes it easier if you're gonna do drop sets, put this on first on the kettlebell. Got this kind of snug in there. Add the locking pin. You got yourself 80 pounds. And then to give you guys this point of reference, and I'll give you a measurement here in a second, of course, this might be a downside to a basic kettlebell and just how high you can get off the ground when you're looking at 80 pounds. Also, a competition style kettlebell, I believe, is 10.5 inches off the ground. Barbell at, say, at like your mid shin normally is, I think, 8.5 inches when the last time I checked. And this is sitting at roughly, I would say, a little shy above 13 inches. So that definitely gives you guys the difference as far as how high off the ground you're starting with when you start increasing that weight. I am curious though, if we drop some weight down, what do we got to get down to when this gets kind of even? So let's see what that looks like. So just eyeballing in here, actually got down to about even weight. When this was 35 pounds on here is when it pretty much matched up with this 35-pound kettlebell. All right, now I want to get into the most important part, which is how this thing feels, how it overall functions. I had low expectations, like I kind of alluded to in the start of this video, that I thought this would feel a little awkward, a little cumbersome compared to a basic kettlebell. I was formally trained a little bit, you could say that, in kettlebells many years ago. I'd say about 15 years ago. Sat through a certification or two. So I used to love kettlebells, believe it or not, or at least had a couple mini stints with them. So there are some things like mechanics and how to use kettlebells. I'm sure I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but there are some things I kind of keep in mind with how to use them somewhat properly. But a couple key things really with learning anything with a kettlebell, I'm gonna use this side because I have the mic, is really just how this rack position feels, because this is kind of a core position for everything that's going on here. And I will say, not to get too long-winded, I can do a lot more videos about this. The rack position, or just how this thing really feels in your hand, is excellent. It's very comfortable. It is more comfortable actually than a regular kettlebell, at least for me. I think because this thing sits a little bit lower on your forearms. With the 22.5 version, it's a little bit bigger in the horns between the spacing compared to the 12.5 version. So you guys will see a shot where I actually can kind of put both my forearms, I was just messing around doing that, that actually feels pretty good. But as far as how this thing feels, just doing the basic kettlebell exercises, from cleans to snatches, feels very good. So that's honestly a big win for me. When we start loading on some more weight, I'm actually gonna load on the full 80 just to show you kind of an exaggeration on a couple things. So with 80 pounds loaded up, you can see, of course, a downside, pro and con, depending on how you look at it, is you're higher off the ground. If you're taller, I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm 6 foot for reference. If you're more on the shorter side, you might not get as much just bend to the hip, but great thing, especially for people that are kind of working on deadlifts, even goblet squats or loading goblet squats. This feels relatively pretty comfortable in this position with this kind of square design. And of course, great way to kind of progressively overload that if you're looking to do stuff. But even in this rack position with 80 pounds, it starts to get a little crazy shooting out that way, but I won't say it's uncomfortable. What I really like about this too, and I've heard this argument by at least a few people out there in the strength conditioning world, is that a lot of people actually prefer doing rows with a kettlebell. And so if that is your preference, I can actually see some people wanting to get 2 of these to do some heavy rows. But I would say, yeah, objectively, a kettlebell row, as far as a free weight exercise, feels a little better compared to a dumbbell row. So I'll probably be taking advantage of this stuff, not just for the kettlebell exercises, but also doing things like rows. Other staples you guys are seeing in the video, Turkish get-ups felt fine. Kettlebell swings felt excellent with this. I think even when you start, I'll experiment with this later on, possibly in the future, if you can add more weight on here. Again, above 80 is gonna get a little ridiculous, but I think as far as just actually doing the swing, I think it'll feel pretty good. And then even if I'm gonna try and press it, still feels relatively comfortable enough. I mean, with that much weight on your arm, compared to if you're doing that with a rounded ball shape. Really the only con is maybe, I mean, doing stuff like this, maybe holding it from the ball, that could be an issue. All right, so in summary and wrapping up, I will say for me personally, this thing was kind of a surprise to me in a very good way. I was not really interested in, honestly, in messing around with loadable kettlebells. I would much rather get a solid traditional kettlebell. This thing feels and performs great in the way it works. If you're looking for something and you're more of a serious kettlebell aficionado, that's more the competition style kettlebell, this is certainly not gonna be for you in just the basic dimensions. It is higher off the ground, so maybe if you're a little bit maybe on the shorter side, maybe you want something that's a little bit kind of lower to the ground as well. I'm being 6 foot just as a reference when you guys are watching this video, but I thought for the things that I'm gonna be using this for, the main kettlebell lifts when it comes to swings, cleans, snatches, you've seen some other kind of nuanced exercises. Rows, I think, feel great with this, like I said. Turkish get-ups felt fine. Really, primarily is the rack position was the most important thing. And I'm not just saying this, the position of the rack position between this kettlebell I had and this one, honestly, this feels comfortable in my hand. And I think maybe just because this thing's kind of rounded, the other weights that start kind of hanging off the end, you don't really feel as much. So for whatever it's worth, I find this thing more comfortable. There is more space in there. I said before that one of the benefits is I don't have to worry about my watch kind of getting dinged up, so there's more room there. Honestly, I can see the only negatives I can see with this is really the starting weight off the ground, and if you're some sort of kettlebell purist, or you want maybe a USA made product kettlebell. There might be some of you guys out there like me that really appreciate that. You can get above 80 pounds. I didn't test that yet. I'm looking to kind of test that in the future to kind of see what that will look like. That might be kind of funky and weird when you get, say, 100 pounds beyond like the 80 and seeing how high this might get off the ground. I think for things like swings, probably cleans, it might work, kind of loading in the rack position. Maybe you can do some other novel things, but I think when you get beyond probably 100 pounds, you're gonna want something like a traditional kettlebell kind of dome, or at least something that's lower to the ground. I think if you already have the Ironmaster ecosystem or gonna consider picking that up, this thing really is gonna no-brainer to kind of add to that cart, to be honest with you guys. For $99, the build quality, what you can do with this thing, the versatility, the amount of money you're gonna save just on other kettlebells, this is a must-have, not to mention it fits nicely if you're gonna go with this one of these kind of heavy-duty carts. Fits nicely under the undercarriage, and it's just one of those items, like I say this a lot in my channel, I really look for things that really invite me to use them. So something like this that's gonna actually make me wanna use kettlebells, not only that, it allows me to kind of add progressive weights and not just stick to one size. I think this thing is great. Interested to hear you guys' thoughts about it. Honestly, can go on forever about this thing. You're gonna see this probably a lot more in the future. If anything happens, of course, as always, I'll post a pinned comment down below, but from what I'm hearing, this thing is one of their top rated products. I think even if you didn't have the Ironmaster system, this is still a contender for something to be honestly thinking about for adjustable kettlebells, not to mention when you think that most kettlebells, even just in their raw weight, can exceed the base price of just this. That's it, you guys. I'll see you in the future with some other Ironmaster stuff likely coming, because like I said, I did invest in this ecosystem. Some might be winners, some might be losers, but I'll let you guys know about that. Thanks for watching.